Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode on Solving the People Puzzle. Today I'm joined in studio by a guest and dear friend of mine. We studied together, Dr Marais Bester, who recently completed his PhD on careers. We specifically look at the concept of the modern career, how it has changed, how it's shifted, how do organizations attract and retain individuals, and what you can do as an individual aspiring to have a purposeful, meaningful career. Thank you so much for joining in. As always, if you like the episode and the pod, please share it, please comment, leave us your review and feedback, and share with anybody that you think might find this useful. Thank you so much and enjoy. Marais Bester, or should I say Dr. Marais Bester, my dear friend, welcome to the Wamly podcast.
Thank you, Francois. It's such a pleasure being here.
My word. Marais, for the audience out there, we go way, way back.
Yes, we do.
Study together in Potch, live together while doing our masters.
Correct, yes.
And fast forward 10, 12 years and here we are.
Here we are.
Phenomenal to have you here. How have you been?
Good. Really doing really well. Such a pleasure being here. Looking forward to our conversation today.
Amazing. Marais, as always, Solving the People Puzzle is a podcast for our HR community where we give them tips, tools, techniques, and just bring value to the listeners. And I'm particularly excited to have you here because since we've studied together, your career has just been all over literally the world.
Yeah, correct. Had the privilege to work in a number of places, I think over 35 countries, across various different continents, across various different levels within organizations, and with the most interesting people. And that's made it a really satisfactory career thus far.
Jeez, Marais. So just for the audience out there, a brief overview of yourself. You've now mentioned where you've worked, how you've worked, but organisational psychologist,
correct.
Recently PhD candidate.
Correct. Yes, so hold registrations with the British Psychological Society as a chartered psychologist, also registration with the European Aviation Society for psychology, also registration here in South Africa with the Health Professions Council, and then I operate as a consultant all over the world in terms of supporting organizations with their talent acquisition, talent management, and talent development strategies.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, real privilege to work with many different people all across the globe.
Yes. And currently living in the Netherlands.
Correct. Living in the Netherlands, and I'm working across Europe mostly at this point in time.
Fascinating. I'm so proud of you. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Marais, I read your PhD and was particularly interested in it was about careers, right?
Correct. So in the field of career psychology, I coined the concept of career well-being, which I defined, and it's becoming more and more important in the modern career landscape, that people are satisfied with their career. So in essence, we constantly measure our level of satisfaction with the career changes and choices that we've made over time. So in the PhD itself, I studied the various different variables that feed into a happy and satisfactory career.
Fascinating. I think, with probably without us knowing this, I think on a daily basis or weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, especially, New Year, January, we kind of evaluate what are we doing? Are we happy?
Correct.
60, 70, 80% even of our lives are our careers.
Correct, absolutely. And we spend such a large proportion of our lives building towards our careers that we are constantly evaluating whether we are on the right path and whether we've made the right career decisions. And because as human beings we are such social creatures, we are constantly evaluating ourselves against our friends and family members to determine, are we having a successful career? And it's important that we as career practitioners and organizations and HR professionals support people in understanding what are the key elements that drive a successful and satisfactory career, and to equip individuals to be self-aware enough to make a proper estimation of their careers and whether their careers are satisfactory or not. We see that the research actually shows that 35% of the variable of total happiness, so our satisfaction with our lives, is impacted by our work and our career. So it is a big deal when we have these conversations.
So to get that right, if I were to say my career is influenced, or my happiness or satisfaction is influenced by X, Y, and Z, 30% of that would be the career.
Correct. So if we look at total human happiness, 30 to 35% of that is
my
influenced
career.
by our
A
work
third.
and our career, because as you rightly pointed out, we spend such a large proportion of our time and lives at work and building towards our careers.
Marie, you mentioned social creatures.
Yes.
We all know the pandemic that one would want to say is in the past, but still fresh in memory.
Yes.
But what it did bring about was enormous change.
Correct.
That, together with the incredible advances in technology,
Correct.
we've got AI, we've got all these shifts in dynamic in terms of technologies. Like, how has the modern career changed or
Yes.
shifted? Is it the same before all of this? Is
Yes.
it ever evolving?
So we've definitely seen in sort of the modern career landscape that there's been a shift towards the so-called boundaryless career over the last 20 years, and that's been emphasized after COVID hit, where people are making more rapid shifts within their careers. So we're seeing that the high potential is staying with an organization on average for 18 months. So as soon as they sort of met their needs at a specific organization, they will move on. Gen Z, who is moving into the organizations at the moment, also emphasize subjective career experiences, such as having a meaningful career or having a satisfactory career or working for an organization which has a positive impact on society much more, as opposed to the traditional career trajectories, which were much more focused on the objective markers of career success, namely status or salary.
Yes.
So we're seeing that there's a massive need in organizations and especially young people to have satisfactory and well careers, and that's becoming a lot more important for individuals. There's also, and I see this in my coaching practice all the time, there's a very big focus on my career legacy.
Sure.
I have the privilege to work with a lot of people who are close to retirement, and I often ask them the question, what is your legacy? What are you leaving behind? And here's a top tip for your listeners, people who are looking to have successful careers. It's never about the project. It's never about the perfect Excel sheet that they created.
Yes.
It's always about the people.
Sure.
I had an impact on people, and that's the thing that I look back at in my career. That's the thing that I'm the most proud of in my career. Again, because as human beings, even if you are introverted, we are social creatures, and we want to have a meaningful impact on other people. So make sure you choose an organization where you can have that meaningful impact on others.
On people. And I guess that's the privilege of the majority of leadership positions or positions where there is the opportunity to influence.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Marie, you mentioned an interesting thing I just want to circle back to before we move on, and that is the tenure, the 18 months kind of people stay, especially the younger generation, but then combine that with meaning, and then you use the word fluid.
Yes.
And that's been interesting for me to observe as well, is the where I'm at is not as important as what I'm doing while I'm in that season.
Correct. Absolutely.
And there seems to be this value transaction at a particular time.
Yes.
I am in a particular role.
Yes.
Can I add value? Am I being remunerated fairly well?
Correct.
Is there flexibility? That autonomy is an ever-evolving conversation that's becoming increasing, and COVID amplified that. And then to your point around this purpose and meaning.
Yes.
What is the organization doing from a values perspective, from a society perspective? That's been interesting to see, a very humanitarian approach to career fluidity.
It's very interesting. We're seeing the psychological contract, which is communicated by means of the employee value proposition, becoming more and more important. And I would encourage organizations listening to this to be as honest about your organizational culture as possible, warts and all, to clearly communicate to employees, this is what you can expect when working within the organization. Because as you know, that psychological contract is, what are my expectations as an employee of the organization, and vice versa, as an organization, what am I expecting of you? And I've had many conversations with individuals where they say, I knew within the first day or week that I've made a massive mistake. So, and that obviously impacts productivity, that impacts engagement and all of that. So I would say, understand yourselves as organizations. I work with so many senior leaders where they can't there's a massive discrepancy between the dream that the CEO has for the organization versus what's happening really in the trenches, in the workplace. So I would encourage organizations to be very clear in terms of who they are, what their culture is all about. They would obviously have the aspiration in terms of working towards a certain culture, but to be also very, very honest in terms of, who we are. If you're a lawyer firm, you're not a Google. These are the behaviors that drive success in our organization.
I laugh because, as you know, we're video interview software, and so we're obsessed with the world of interviewing, which is part of the recruitment process. And I often say this, that the interview as a construct at times is such a potential for such a misconception or an opportunity for people to miss each other, both the individual and the employee, because in the interview as the employer, I'm going to sell you
exactly
who we are,
all the best
right?
parts.
Our EVP, what we stand for. You are going to sell the best version of who you are to me,
or maybe another version of who you are,
or another version. And then, as you say, rightfully say, we often joke and say, within the first 5 minutes in an interview, the employer has got a good sense of is this candidate a match and do they look like their CV. But to your point, the moment I start an onboarding, I'm like, where is that value or this culture or this environment that was promised? No, that's super fascinating, Marais.
On that point, Francois, I would also encourage individuals to do a lot of introspection. I have a lot of conversations where people struggle to, identify their so-called signature strengths, their so-called personality traits, who they really are as an individual. And I would encourage, it's okay if you haven't had it figured out. The most interesting 60-year-olds that I know still don't know what their career goals are.
It's ever evolving.
Or who they are. But I would encourage individuals to work on their self-awareness. The research shows that career interest, is the number one predictor of productivity or engagement in the workplace. So figure out what your passions are. Figure out what your interests are. If you are privileged enough, make a career or a side hustle out of those things. The second highest predictor of actual career success is cognitive capability.
Correct.
You don't want to be the stupidest person in a room, but you also don't want to be the smartest person in a room. So make sure that you pick a role, pick a career that aligns with your skill set and your cognitive capabilities. And as you know, the things that we look out for in interviews is the behavioral fit element. From a personality standpoint, will I align with the culture of the organization, with the manager, with the job description? And am I being honest in that interview about those different things? And we ultimately see that the biggest personality traits that predict career success or executive performance are things like extroversion, conscientiousness with a sub-trait of industriousness, and low agreeableness. Actually, are you willing to have difficult conversations, challenge, and be successful at that senior level? So
fascinating.
Very important to be open with yourself as well.
I think to summarize this section, it's around, for me at least, it's around authentic, radical honesty.
Yes, correct. On both ends.
Can the organization be transparent around what is on offer?
Yes.
What will it be to work here like? What is my manager like? What are the peers like?
Correct.
What is the organization's vision?
Correct.
I think, especially in the tech space, there's a big emphasis on scale.
Correct.
And with that comes ever-evolving change.
Yes.
Chaos.
Correct.
Can I, in an interview for someone applying at Wamly, clearly articulate that, listen, this is not your typical 9 to 5.
Correct.
This is not a predictable environment.
Yes.
And then match that with, as you mentioned, the characteristics of the individual and their own aspirations and where they see themselves thriving.
Yes.
Marais, I want to circle back to career and your research and particularly look at this concept of a meaningful career.
Yes.
So what advice would you look to give someone who's looking to, and I mean, I guess this goes without saying, everybody wants a meaningful career.
Correct. Yes.
And it starts with, well, what's that definition and what does that mean broadly speaking, but then also to the individual, like, how do I go about crafting a meaningful career?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Yes.
And I would just, point out again, the self-understanding is absolutely essential.
Yes.
And I want to encourage the parents out there especially.
Yeah.
Get to know your child when you are giving them career advice or study advice or things like that. Don't push them into a certain direction because you want to live out your own dreams through them.
Yeah.
Make sure that there's a natural alignment between your career choices and what the organization or the career will provide to you, and the things that come naturally to you, preferably your strengths. So I would say that's absolutely critical, and all of the other elements that I pointed out. Are you smart enough for the career that you're choosing? Are you interested in the career that you're choosing? And the one realization that I came to after COVID in my own career was, am I employable?
Sure.
And what does employability look like within the modern landscape?
Sure.
And in my career, what would that look like in the future? And I'm seeing many people who are very complacent because, let's be honest, in the past, organizations or industries didn't change that much. But we are living in a time where, the technologies that we're working with today may not even be relevant next month.
So, before you continue, I just want to double click on two elements. So the first being self-awareness.
Yes.
And you mentioned, and it's an age-old saying, like parents helping kids, and then are you projecting your own dreams onto your kids because of whatever reason? But it's nearly impossible to do this if there isn't a basic understanding of what I like.
Correct.
What are my passions?
Correct.
Where do I thrive?
Correct.
And so the typical, and I want to believe in 2024 we're not in that space anymore where you only have 6 options, right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, etc. But it starts with a kid with the help of a career psychologist or parents or mentors or facilitators, does some work. I often look at young individuals and I ask, like, have you researched? I mean, I take industrial psychology. I often coin my own career as the accidental profession.
Yes.
I knew nothing about industrial psychology until the 4th year of us studying.
Yes.
And so there is a responsibility on the kid, the youngster, to at least pop on ChatGPT or YouTube or Google or try and go and shadow or meet people.
Correct.
I mean, we have an intern working here who literally hounded me to come and see what is it like. Like, I want to understand what is it like. And that was beautiful to see. Yeah. So I think there's a big emphasis there. And then also the parents to kind of let go in a way of their dreams. I mean, obviously as a parent, you want the best for your kid. So the intention is right.
Yes.
But then to let that flow out and let that curiosity that kids typically do have, let that play out and then have them go and explore.
Yeah. And I also want to just say to your audience, if you are in your mid-30s, I do a lot of research on what the so-called midlife crisis is all about.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in your mid-30s and you're feeling, oh my word, I made all of the wrong decisions, I'm not in the right career, there is still time.
Correct.
We are seeing in the modern, in the modern career space that people are having second or third careers.
Yes.
It's not too late,
No.
I also want to emphasize the importance of having multiple streams of income, Look at your interests, look at your side hustles.
Yes.
I see it so often that the side hustle becomes the major, point of meaning or career for an individual. So I really want to encourage that. So don't be complacent. There's still plenty of time. Yeah. I think Colonel Sanders of KFC only started his business at 65. Yeah. So there's still a lot of time to do that. Find help. Find a coach, a career psychologist, a career counselor who can help you with that. Be very clear on your so-called life goals or what you still want to achieve. We do see that proactive goal-orientated behavior is a massive predictor of you actually realizing that so-called meaningful
it's intention
career.
Setting.
Yeah,
Where am I now? Where do I want to be?
And write it down, and stick it up somewhere and remind yourself of that constantly, but also be patient with yourself. Give yourself a pat on the shoulder every now and then and say, look how far I've come.
Yes.
And reward yourself for that. Because I often see people that, they do reach a certain point in their career, but immediately then set the next goal. And they never get the opportunity just to take rest and refuge in that and be satisfied with how far they've come. So that's absolutely critical.
So Marais, that's from the candidate perspective. If we shift the conversation to the organization, attracting and retaining talent, what can we share with the audience who are looking at this? I'm in the HR department, I'm a recruiter, I'm an HR exec, HR manager, I'm in the talent attraction team. What from that perspective can we do to attract and retain individuals and then provide meaningful careers?
Correct. So one of the biggest shifts that we've seen over the last 20 years has been that the responsibility for the person's career success and development has shifted from the organization to the individual.
Yes, I love that.
So you want to employ self-starters, individuals who can learn and develop on their own and take responsibility for their own career mobility and success. But it's essential that you as an organization provide those resources. Provide tools such as mentorship programs or learning management systems where the person can build into their careers and strengthen their careers. Your high potentials especially are looking for these sorts of things. Clear career pathways are absolutely critical, and that doesn't necessarily just have to be on a vertical growth level. It could also be horizontal level, and providing clear information around possible roles for an individual is absolutely critical. So we know the number one reason why people leave organization, you guessed it, is the manager. Number two reason is because of a lack of career or role clarity. How does my day-to-day activities feed into the strategy of the organization and what is expected of me?
Where is my ability to grow if I want to?
Correct. And what does that pathway look like? I want to be very clear on that. So if it's the next level up, what does that job description or expectation look like? And then I can plan my development accordingly. So that's absolutely essential. And then when you are attracting these high potentials or individuals who are driven to have more meaningful careers, be clear on those benefits that they will receive or have in the organization. Because no person wants to stay stagnant. So make sure, maybe revisit your organizational structure or the way that you support your people. Also strengthen your mid-level managers. As we know, mid-level managers are the hearts and souls of any organization.
The solid citizens.
Correct. And we often see that technical experts are promoted into those positions, and they often lack the language or the skills to coach individuals, to support individuals with their roles. And they often just stick to the things that they know, which is the technical parts of the role. And often
they don't want to be managers.
No.
But it's the only natural progression. And so I have to kind of go there to be promoted, earn more.
Correct.
We have this conversation a lot. I love what you're saying around the responsibility shift, because especially for the younger generation listening, there's responsibility on both parties.
Correct.
For the organization, what you're saying is provide the resources, provide the information, provide the platform.
Correct.
Be clear around the potential possibilities to shift.
Correct.
Also be clear and authentic around if there aren't.
Correct.
This is us. We are a dev house. We're looking for back-end developers.
Correct.
That's what we want. Like, you're not going to become the CTO. We have one.
Correct.
So just be clear and authentic around that. It goes back to what we said in the beginning around this is a value transaction.
Correct.
And both parties need to be informed, satisfied, and successful.
Correct.
The second part that I absolutely love what you said is this idea of the self-starters. Understanding that when you are attracting high-performing individuals, they come with a set of makeup. They're going to be energetic. They're going to be self-starters. They're going to be slightly impatient. And all you they need to do is to provide that roadmap, tools and resources, and let them flourish.
Correct. And we've completely shifted from the so-called lifelong career. I'm going to work, like our fathers used to do, work at this factory.
After 25 years, I get my golden watch.
Exactly. So we've moved away from that. So you need to make sure as an organization that you are providing the individual with the skills and resources that they need for that potentially short period that they will be with your organization, and then they will move on. As soon as they've, sort of met their goals at your organization, they will move on, and that's okay. And then you bring in new people with new skills, because by that point in time, your organization probably has also grown and moved on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marais, to end this off, I would love to just circle to the obvious conversation, and that is the role of technology and career happiness. There's obviously the conversation that AI is taking my job.
Yes.
My job is going to become redundant or irrelevant. Just your stance on that and your opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm always the optimist. I don't see AI or technology as a threat. I believe that it will add to the economy. It will add to growth. It will provide more opportunities, more wealth for people to flourish. My prediction is that we'll see a greater rise in the so-called collarless worker. If we align this with the boundaryless career, where we will see individuals partnering with technology. You are working with your robotics, artificial intelligence, automation, or the Internet of Things, and you are selling your skills to an organization or multiple organizations at the same time, and they are buying those skills from you. So that's what I'm predicting will be happening in the future, but I definitely don't see it as a threat. Obviously, as we saw, with the internet boom in the 90s, some jobs will become redundant. But this is again where employability becomes so important. Are you remaining relevant? Are you keeping up with things? Are you keeping up with technology? So make sure that you remain relevant and that you keep up with things, and potentially technology could become your best friend.
I love that, and I'm so glad. In many of the podcasts, we ask this question, and almost everybody's answer is that, is no, it will create a shift, it will create change, but it does not have to be a threat unless you don't remain relevant.
Correct.
And what does it practically look like? What skill set do I need for the future?
Yes.
In the career path that I've decided to go on, and how do I continue to upskill, learn, and grow myself, which is a responsibility that starts with me.
Correct.
It is not the organization's job to keep their employees relevant.
Yes.
It's their job to keep them employed by providing an opportunity and a platform for them to live out their passion.
Correct.
But that remaining relevant starts and remains with me.
With the individual.
And how I perceive that.
And you are selling your skills to multiple organizations.
Love that. Love that. Marais, it's been an absolute privilege. We can sit here the entire day.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insight. It's phenomenal to see you. Good luck with everything abroad, and thank you for being on the pod.
Thank you, Francois. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you specifically for all the work that you are doing within the talent and HR spaces. It's much appreciated.
Thanks, bud. Have a nice day.